rising tides, and the Sharks are circling Halvor. Can Fragsters refresh and get their heads back into this one on cash?
I mean, they have to, right? It's do or die time, and as you kind of alluded to, it's time for refresh to show I guess his old self. Dust 2 was definitely not a showing that he wants to end the tournament on. That's not what we've come to expect of him so far at Starladder here. He has been by far the best performing player for the Danes, and if he's not going to show up when you have pretty much everyone on Vega being able to chip in here, I mean, we saw an excellent team performance out of them on Dust 2, then I don't fancy Fragsters' chances going forward. So,
when it comes to Fragsters, do they, I mean, so you're saying a lot of this is going to be residing on refresh. I think, for Vega, we saw everyone stepping up, maybe with the exception of Crush. He's still having like a bit of a tough time of things right now.
He was just kind of pulling the rotation role, though. So, like, whenever they wanted to go towards long, he's behind Tony, but Tony's not letting anyone pass. So, can't really do anything there. Then you have JR just kind of picking off people on catwalk, so he doesn't really get into the fun. And whenever they went towards the B bomb site, well, Crush is, having a long rotation time, and Fragsters weren't really able to amount too much on their T side either. So, I mean, you can kind of forgive him for not necessarily having equal stats to the other ones. When 4 players usually perform that well, it means that somebody's left out, and that was Crush due to part positioning in that scenario. But this is a weird one, though, because obviously we know that Vega has had their scalps on a map like Cache in the past. I mean, the most famous one obviously being NIP, that 16-2 victory to send NIP out of the majors. But they haven't played it a whole lot in recent time. They had one recorded match in the last 3 months. That was a loss versus Monolith. Fragsters, again, don't play it a whole lot either. They've played it 3 times in the last 3 months, all 3 losses. So we're coming into a game where one of these teams is going to pick up their first win on Cache in quite some time. Yeah,
and I'm not seeing anyone on Fragsters getting a back rub, so,
That's a bad sign.
Yeah, I mean, maybe start handing out a few more of them. They certainly need it. One man he might be needing a back rub is going to be Refresh. That's kind of who we've been highlighting. He's got to carry the team on that back. So it's got to be an ample condition for him to do so. We kind of saw a good bit from Dragonfly. It felt like over on Dust. He was really one of the shining stars alongside Stavin, I guess. If you really wanted to look for a
secondary guy there.
Yeah. If you wanted to try and find a silver lining in amongst the other quite dismal performance from them. Then, over on the side of Vega, as we've already alluded to, it was very much a team effort, and now we prepare to head into Cache. That is, of course, their map pick, and one that, this is a map they feel pretty at home on. You kind of see Fragsters a little bit screwed by that veto. We noticed, they had to go ahead and take out Mirage, obviously, and then that leaves them pretty vulnerable to kind of wherever Vega want to take the fight at that point. They get to pick, and they've headed into Cache here, a map that they're very comfortable on. And not one that many teams opted to play them on as a result. This is the first time we've actually seen them play at this event thus far. And they're going to get it at a pretty critical juncture at that, as they currently sit 1-0 up in this series. So a victory here means they'll be sending the young Danish team home.
Yeah, and I mean, for how well we've seen Fragsters play so far at this tournament, you would kind of hope that they don't peter out in this kind of a fashion. I mean, they have wins over Big, Gambit, North even as well. So that's always a pretty tough battle to go into. They haven't had it easy, right? Their one loss was versus Energy on Mirage, where they kind of looked out of place. But that's not going to be, in the map pool either here, so they don't have to worry about that. But definitely expect more out of Fragsters here. And if they're going to go out 2-0, at least make it a competitive spectacle of it, as we see the knife round to sides. And I mean, as for Dust 2, where nobody really seems to have figured out what is going to be the more beneficial size on the new iteration of it, Cache is, again, still tried and true to the point where I think most teams would favor the T side if they won the knife.
Well, I'm glad these guys kind of got right into it. They boosted someone up. I'm like, why are you doing that? It's knife round. Just hurry up, get it over and done with. And they do, They're going to go ahead and see Fragsters actually the team to win that out, so they get to pick the side. Now,
I would imagine a T-side start making the most sense for Fragsters. On any level, you kind of get to control the tempo of the game, at least in most normal circumstances. We might see Vega playing very aggressively on their CT side. That's not exactly a calling card that's too unknown, but it does make more sense. And I would say Cache is a pretty free-flowing T-side map, so you get a lot of opportunities to play out, even if you don't get necessarily an opening. There's room for you to do quite a bit. Rotations aren't necessarily the easiest on Cache a lot of the time on the CT side. So we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, we can see those odds on the screen, or at least we could. They might have been a little bit too fast for you. Should have been paying better attention, as it was Vega, the team more favored right now. As we headed into this, these odds were split right down the middle. I think this was very much a 50-50 game.
Yeah.
I think, you know, most people at home, kind of like us, have been pretty convinced by what we saw from Vega. And over on the side of Fragsters, one thing you kind of do start to question is maybe that mental kind of fortitude that we associate with teams with a lot more experience having. It's, you know, these guys, while they've played at a few kind of, you know, they were like tier 2 events, right? And they've placed reasonably well. You think, you know, DreamHack Valencia, for example, they had a decent showing there. They might be lacking that same sort of ability to roll with the punches and pick yourself back up, right? Because there's no denying it. In comparison to what we've seen before, that was a pretty big spanking over on Dust 2 against them. Definitely not the performance that these guys had been hoping for. And this is where, for a guy like Refresh, right, where you put this much pressure on him, you say, you know, you have to be the guy to step up. Now, you know, you feel like this is where he's really going to be tested, right? This is where you really see, can he pick himself up? Can he dust himself off after that performance and bring in the cash money? We'll find out as we head on through to this second map. Vega going to be kickstarting this over on the T side as Fragsters opt for a CT side start.
Yeah, a little bit surprised to see that coming out of Fragsters, but we'll see what they can make work of it. Obviously, their T side on Dust 2 didn't leave a whole lot to be desired, or did leave a lot to be desired, I should say, as they didn't get quite the number of rounds they needed. So maybe feeling like CT has been going better for them so far up to this point. Dragonfly's going to start out the round with taking a shot to the head. Has to back off from connectors somewhat. Can't actively peek anymore, but nobody from Vega really decided to go too hard in on that. Only Chopper really making his way into vents, where he has another teammate lurking a little bit further forward. A very defensive setup here from Fragsters. They've actually just completely, you know, disregarded the fact that they wanted to have any players on the bomb site. So Torben's going to be in for a bit of a rough time. He's going to have to land some shots through the smoke here. Otherwise, we're looking at a potential 5v5 retake. But as they say, that Torben gets actually the return through the smoke, and that leaves you with a lot of worries if you're Fragsters now. Got a defuse kit, but one smoke and 2 flashes. It's going to be tough to retake a bomb site and actually clear out Vega Squadron.
Yeah, they're not shy on utility, but they are shy on time. They have to try and find something sooner rather than later, and these smokes now raining on in. They're going to do a good job of segregating the players into this bomb site, but so many players here for Vega are now barreling through these defensive smokes from Fragsters. Leaves all the pressure on a Refresh. 1v4, and there should just be absolutely no way back into this round. Vega going to be picking up the pistol, and that is another kind of grim strat for the Fragsters boys that, you know, going to be continuing, is that storyline of them having, you know, 2 pistol round wins now here.
And 0 conversions off those 2 pistol rounds.
That's at the entire event, by the way. That's not just in this best of 3. So, you know, definitely not been the best of starts consistently for this team. And I think that's kind of what you needed now for you with these guys. You wanted to get off to that good start. You wanted to be, you know, picking up these first few rounds.
Yeah, again, I guess if you want to look at the positive side of it, I mean, they've still been able to beat some pretty significant opponents up to this point. Big, North, Gambit. And if they're able to do that without winning pistols, or at least converting the few pistols that they do pick up, that means that they're doing a really, really good job during buy rounds. So they still have a lot to fight for in that sense. They're going to have a bit of a stack over here towards the B bomb site. 4 players on the site. Only really Bubsky hanging out anywhere else. He's actually going to rotate over towards A, where JR's already been clearing out a lot of space. But Bomb's not made it over yet, so there's still an opportunity for Bubsky here to be a bit of a nuisance. Molotov, though, is going to fend him off his position, and that means Vega are going to get a bomb plant down without too much of a problem. JR looking to make as much cash as possible. Obviously wants that AWP in play as quickly as possible. He's going to get shut down by Refresh. And a couple of trades going back and forth here.
Yeah, there's a reasonably good chance for Fragsters to find a little bit more in this round, but they go ahead and leave early. They do make the decision to save up into the next round. You can see they're trying to retrieve what they can. The only issue is Tony Black going to just mop up these players down here in mid. The cleaning crew is in, and just Dragonfly left up with a MAC-10. Not exactly anything to write home about. A second round going to be on the board for Vega early on.
I think you get the start they need Definitely so. Dragonfly probably going to drop off that Mac 10 and continue on his adventures with the Deagle. We'll see, though, if there's any more money to be made for the Danes before they go into that first buy round.
Yeah, looking like they want to try and go for an early double AWP setup, perhaps. You can see that they've kept plenty of money across 3 of these players to go for the AWPs in the following round. Maybe just, you know, deciding the extra utility also should be prioritized. It's going to be interesting to see what the call is there. Vega back to B. Oh, that's a nice shot from Stavin, but doesn't find a kill. Just a bit of damage. He's going to get mopped up, and now this should be pretty clean around here for Vega. If you want to look for a silver lining, they are walking into a stack inside of this B bomb site, but it's just unarmored pistol players for the most part. They will go ahead and get picked up relatively easily. So Vega looking to keep this third round clean. So they get off to a 3-0 start here with 5 players surviving in this round. Now the buy comes in for Fragsters, and I'm curious, they haven't gone for the double up just yet, but I don't think Dragonfly had purchased one, so it looks like they are going to go for it here. See those odds on the screen provided by the wonderful people over at LootBet, and it's still going to be leaning the way of Vega pretty convincingly at that.
Yeah, a bit of a change up from the first map, but can't really blame them as well. Vega were definitely the better team after Dust 2. Started off cash in pretty convincing fashion as well.
Well, out here towards mid, these double AWPs now have to start to show their worth. Dragonfly able to open up, and Stavin able to extend that man advantage even further as his aggression in mid goes unpunished. It is just JR and a Chopper left up in the blink of an eye. Fragsters looking like they might field a very, very convincing round here in their first buy on the CT side, and that's what we want to be seeing from this team. Now, the one issue is they have left this B-bomb site open for the most part. Only Torben here, and he currently sits in checkers. The only issue is Chopper's playing chess, and he's already up and past them. Now dipping towards CT. Dragonfly going to fall, and they haven't cleared this out, but they don't seem too prepared for the reality that Torben's going to be here. JR, in a 1v4, has found the opener. Gets the bomb down as well, but only armed with this MP5. That one flash already thrown out, and Fragster's looking to try and play this one together. He hasn't gotten the reload off, so 22 bullets in the SMG. Able to pick up the first kill. There's the trade on refresh. So Fragster's picking up their first round here in the rifle.
Yeah, also being able to hold on to that double up. So even though they don't survive with 3 to 4 players, at least the most vital investment on the side of Fragsters goes with them in forward. Still going to be able to drop around, so there should be enough utility to play around with for Fragsters as well. But as you can see, Vega Squadron, they've got a full buy on their end as well. All the Molotovs and smokes you could ever want, plus that off on JR. This is where the real challenge begins, really, for the CT side. So early impact from Dragonfly in mid. It's going to be interesting to see how active these ops on the side of Fragsters are going to try to be, at least. For now, though, they've opted to have refresh as the pretty much sole defender of that A bomb site with the op. Not uncommon. You see that quite a bit, actually. Sometimes towards the A bomb site, sometimes towards B. But that's the kind of freedom at least having an opera on your side gives you. Bubsky has rotated out of mid to help out potentially. As he feels some pressure towards 8. Leaves Dragonfly to hold off mid by himself. He doesn't have control over the boost as of right now, and we've seen at least one player on the side of Vega being pushed up there. Squoochie.
He's going to try to spearhead the charge. Missed shot from Dragonfly. Still lingering around, still going to try and re-peek into this. And you look at refresh with that other AWP over on quad. He'll be able to help out. And Dragonfly flashed off the angle. Is going to open up. But Tony Black instantly in position to trade. And drop the AWP down here amid. Stavin. Try and end up with Torben I ordered inside of this B-bomb site. And a lot to do, but Crush and Chopper, they combine and find 2 between them. Now just Bubsky and refresh left up. But Bubsky might have made this possible here as he sprays down JR. Now waiting for refresh. He's traded in that AWP for the AK. That's suggesting to me Fragsters, they're going to try and pounce onto this. They're going to try and make something happen of this round. Time ticking down, though. If you're going to do it, you have to do it sooner rather than later. And as they're not finding any openings, they're not finding any means of getting into this bomb site. And now they look to try and find something on the back of this people. Refresh. He's just going to walk into the bullets. He's not long for this world. And that's Vega instantly back with a fourth back on the board. And only one man surviving here. 4 Fragsters will at least get away with the AWP. But it's the rest of the team, you know, they're going to get clamped down in terms of that money now. Ooh. Oh no, that's pretty brutal. He even manages to go down, so they don't hold the AWP forward. Fragsters, things go from bad to worse. The money was already looking bad, and now they've they left the cash cow of Bubsky in that previous round. He wasn't able to hold on to anything.
Ended up as a bit of a pinata. Everything just falling apart for Fragsters there. Unfortunate turn of events, because that's definitely a situation where both of the B players from Fragsters and Stavin and Torben are in firefights that they should be able to win out. Stavin's first challenge versus the player in Sunroom, and Torben obviously playing around the smoke there on site. Probably should be able to win out the first duel from the Vega player turning the corner in checkers. But again, we talked about it, when the individuals aren't really able to win out pretty much favorable situations for yourself, you're not going to be able to rely on strategy as much either going forward, or necessarily having the best kind of setups, because, I mean, it is quite essential to be able to hit your shots, as cliche as that sounds. For right now, though, that means the Fragsters are back to a bit of an awkward position. They're going to force up at least on some players, Dragonfly and Refresh being a little bit more measured, as they want most likely to go back to that double lot setup, but that means we're looking at a double eco here from the Danes. So barring something crazy, Vega looking to get a 5th round on the board and potentially a 6th in quick succession. Stavin makes the connection onto Hoochie, but it's going to drop off from the boost. We do have the right amount of players at least over towards this A-bomb site, as Vega seem fairly committed that they want to execute over towards A.
And the ball is very much in their court as they set on up. Bubsky here with the FAMAS holding close. That smoke going to start to dissipate. He's on the forklift and he's got to do heavy lifting from this position, but already tagged down. JR going to be chiming in on the AWP, but now the push into the bomb site begins. Bubsky board down low. Crush going to go ahead and start to quell the resistance here, but Bubsky, a quick double might have just made something possible for Fragsters in this round. Hiding in that smoke, gonna be Dragonfly, 1 HP. JR able to finish him, and now just Torben pushing back in. Well, it's an awkward fight, but Chopper's able to win it out at the very end, so that will be a 5th round on the board for Vega. Still no money for Fragsters as a result of the investment there.
They're backing pretty much everything on that double up setup working out for them. So when we get around to that 8th round, they're going to have to hope to find immediate success, and not just for 1 round at that. They're going to have to string, 3 to 4 rounds to their name before they actually can feel somewhat comfortable. It's not easy to do on the CT side of Cash, and Vega right now looking very, very solid. JR once again getting off to a superb start. 9 frags to his name as well.
And I mean, worryingly, if you are Fragsters, the one man who has kind of looked pretty poor throughout for Vega is Crush, and he's showing up here early on in this game. Fragsters, we've only really seen them with 1 or 2 buys as of yet. They've gone aggressive in through main, and Crush going to be given a chance to pad those stats out much more. You can see Vega, they're all over B. There's no way for Fragsters to do anything in this round. The best they can really hope for is that they manage to maybe find Crush, get away with his AK, run and hide in the hills like a bunch of real goblins, but it doesn't look to be happening as they go barreling by for the time being. Tony Black. Oh, you don't really want to be him right now. There's a lot of bodies about to come his way. Ooh, maybe you do want to be him.
line up kind of nicely for him. Refresh actually not opting to push out either. That might put Hoochie in a scary position, but he's going to be able to adjust in time. So only one player goes down on the side of Vega here as well. So similar scenarios to what we saw in Dust 2 as well. Vega getting off to such a strong start that money's not going to be an issue for them for the longest of times. And at the time where you might be looking at Fragsters stringing multiple rounds together, that loss bonus is going to have kicked in so early on that Vegan are going to be primed to buy for the next 4+ rounds at the very least.
Yeah, and Torben going full-on Master Chief here with the 117 scoreline. He, think back to kind of their debut here at this event, and he looked good for the team. He's putting up numbers. He was doing well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of living up to that like fragging IGL role. He's certainly not been feeling it right now. And that's something that worries me a bit, as the IGL, if you're kind of the guy who's really struggling to ever get going, maybe you start to focus a little too much on yourself and what you could be doing different instead of, for the good of the team. Yeah,
there is actually quite a common trend with certain IGLs where their calling is heavily affected by how they do individually. And it's fairly evident on the team as well. Because not only are you just losing faith in yourself, but, that lessens your confidence in what you're able to contribute just from a strategical point of view. That affects the entire team. Molotov going to go in to fend Tony Black off at least, but he's the only player over towards that A bomb site as well. Focus for right now for Vega is over towards B here, and they're just creeping their way closer by. Stavin might be able to find one angle on him, but Tony wins out the duel versus Bubsky early on, and that actually might draw some attention in the wrong direction for Fragsters. They're going to lose out the initial duels as well. Torben goes down on the bomb site. Stavin drops down from vents. He needs to find a second kill here as well. He does. That's the bomb drop. Find some time here, so even if he does go back from go down to Chopper, that has actually forced Vega off the bomb site for the time being. Tony is not going to be successful with the flank either. Down to a 2v2 situation, make that a 2v1. It's all down to Chopper. Half HP. Dragonfly caught a bit out of position there out on higher, but Refresh gonna move in. Bomb goes down. Chopper have to be immediate with the shot, and he is. Even gonna pick up the AWP as well. So as close as Fragsters do get, another round still in the books for Vega Squadron, and that double up investment that we talked about had to have multiple rounds of success fails almost immediately.
Yeah, Chopper just decimating dreams left and right. Fragsters, once again, it's back to the drawing board, back to the doldrums of this very, very weak economy over on the CT side that they've never had, start to build up. They never had that buffer. Every round they lose, they're instantly reset if they've committed to the buy. And for Vega, going to be back to basics, back towards this A-bomb site. 4 players of Fragsters aggressing in through those B halls. They do manage to find Crush, but that's just going to give the signal and go for this push. And Refresh holding close for the CZ. Picks up one. AK up on Stavin, and he does have armor to play with. This is by no means a down-and-out round for Fragsters, especially when you consider how many angles Vega are having to set up for right now. They know that there's players in the back line. There's players everywhere from Fragsters as they circle this A-bomb site like vultures to a corpse. They're looking to try and pick the bones of Vega dry, but it's not happening. It's vultures v sharks here. And that's just chaos. Chopper gonna manage one. Actually traded out. JR left in the 1v1. A possibility for Bubsky. Knows where JR is, but JR gonna keep his cool in the clutch. And that will be Vega moving on to an 8th round. Very, very convincing stuff right now from Chopper and JR. JR, of course, the man on your screen. Once again, not the most emotion on that man's face. He keeps things very, very cool. Once again, that was actually the replay of him clutching. Not that you would know it, but ooh,
very measured, and definitely more reaction coming out of the Fragsters guys. I mean, understandable. They're down 1-8 at this point. Got the tactical pause going, and if we understood it correctly from Chad, who's been doing the research here, coach of Fragsters being the 3rd brother really on the side. So you've got Dragonfly and Stavin on the server, and then the older head standing behind them to give them words of wisdom in times of need. And I mean, if there was ever a time of need, this is now.
Fragsters is a real family-run
business. Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, team fights would be kind of awkward in that scenario when you have to rely on mom and dad to settle any quarrel. Dragonfly's going to get dropped by Chopper, though. And Torben hasn't been able to find a lot of success in his duels initially, and it's not going to get any easier. Just flames galore all over the bomb site. Flashes as well. Easiest frag of the day for JR. And they're already locked out of that B-bomb site.
Yeah, this round's over. Vega just once again, this blistering pace. Fragsters not even on the kill feed. They don't manage anything. You know, dealing what, a total of 21 damage across everyone on Vega in this round. You're instantly locked out. The Molotovs there, everything about that from Vega just picture perfect to isolate those two fights. And I mean, you saw at the end, Torben, even if he didn't get found by JR with the AWP, he was going to burn in the Molotov anyway.
Yeah.
So now hunting down the remaining players of Fragsters. They know that Fragsters have absolutely everything to lose and so much to gain if they hold on to these M4s. And Bubsky, okay, there we go. He's going to get some kills to his name, maybe build up some confidence here. As, you know, admittedly, they are just consolation frags. It does mean he gets to hold on to this M4 for now. Uchi going to go peeking in. And Bubsky, where was this performance earlier on? That's what we need to see. But when the round isn't all said and done.
Still 9-1. So Vega, yeah, definitely finding a lot of success here. With being able to actually get so close to the B-bomb site as well before they initiate their executes as well. Fragsters just having a really passive setup that's not working out for them. It seems like more often than not, they're not isolating the 3 of the players from the CT side. I mean, Fragsters just don't have any information to work with. Get locked out of the bomb site too easily, not winning out their duels. They need to go back into the playbook and find something a little bit more assertive here. Right now, just waiting for Vega to execute into is definitely not working out. But again, we're going to see a very similar setup. Bubsky being the rotation man towards Highway. Tony Black hanging out over towards Squeaky. And again, very passive setup on the side of the Fragsters towards B. Torben on top of Higher and Stabbin sitting on site. Well, Crush just wins out the duel single-handedly versus Bubsky in mid as well. So that's even more map control lost. Nothing really seems to be phasing Vega Squadron in this scenario. Stabbin is actually going to get burnt down to 10 HP. Wiley's holding a smoke to his name. Torben comes storming through. Stabbin doesn't really have a Snowflake's chance in hell to win out on that one. He's going to fall down as well. Vega throwing over the bomb. And again, it's just that B bomb site not working out at all. I mean, obviously it's going to help the fact that they find an opening. A couple of times when they've been very clear that they want to go towards this B bomb site, they've been able to find either a pick over towards A, courtesy of Tony Black. This time it's Crush in mid, but it's still so passive on the side of Fragsters that they have no way of actually reacting to what's going on from Vega before Vega have already overtaken the bomb site. The longer it takes for them to realize that, the more rounds they're going to lose. And I mean, at this point, it's already getting pretty gnarly. I have to consider the fact as well, Fragsters won the knife round. They decided to start on the CT side of Cash. Which again, was very surprising. I mean, because you can't see T-sides like this pan out. Dragonfly's got to go down as well, so that means no op in play either. Refresh with the Colts. He's the only one who's able to hang on to anything, but looks like they're going to work some trickery with the buy-ups. Stabbin did have a fair bit of cash moving into this one, so he's dropping an op for Dragonfly. But we really need to see something more proactive happening out of Fragsters here. There is no doubt about it. If they continuously play this passive, they're just going to get even more ran over than what they've already been. Yeah,
I mean, you notice as well, I mean, Vega, now they've headed back here towards A. They're setting on up. And, ooh, here's the aggression from Torben. The IG Alpha Fragsters charging forward, picks up that early man advantage. Refresh even going to go ahead and spam down Hoochie there through that smoke. Fragsters maybe on to the chance of winning a round here. So they have this early two-man advantage. The Molotov going to look to rain on him, but it's not in the right spot to force Refresh out. He's given a bit of free reign right now, and now Bubsky drawing their attention as well. The bait and switch sends them into the maws of Refresh as he finds a double. Fragsters locking in a second round. And I mean, you do have Refresh now starting to find his footing a bit as well. Bubsky, decent numbers up on the board. And with so many players staying alive, they have instantly dodged the opportunity for the reset in this following round if they lose this, which is
definitely needed.
The real silver lining here for Fragsters. It's more than just this one round. It's also now a little bit more certainty looking at the future. Vega going to be not donning this AWP anymore. Instead, they've just gone for 5 rifles across the board. They had the money to go for it if they wanted to, so maybe we expect to see something a little bit faster here from the Vega boys. And indeed, we are.
Chopper.
Vega Bus charging on in, and it's going to be Refresh trying to hold his own. Does have Bubsky here to help out, and Refresh, look at him go. Almost onto a third, but not quite. Instead, Bubsky going to be there to bail him out, and this round is well and truly over. Fragsters digging deep, find themselves at round number 3.
Finally, things starting to go the way of Fragsters here. And I mean, for how doom and gloom we've been about the situation that Fragsters find themselves in, if they can get to a 5th one, that is definitely something to work with going into the second half. So closing this out is going to be really important for Vega. Gonna have to see if they actually have the means to do so. I mean, they've won so many rounds in a row, but started to really show. Fuchi's actually forced to go with the Deagle into this round. An AWP still in the hands of JR, but this is in many ways the last stand of the first half for Vega Squadron. Dragonfly just going to walk into the duel with Chopper, still wins out. Again, opening frag the way of Fragsters. A nice little pop flash there to completely negate any sort of hope of JR being able to get a return kill. And all of a sudden, we're seeing a much more active Fragsters here in terms of what dual search is deciding to take, where they're moving themselves on the maps, and Torben and Dragonfly yet again find openings, and that leaves Tony Black over towards A. He walks into Refresh, waiting up there with the scope. So 3 rounds in a row for Fragsters, and considering the money on Vega, obviously they're gonna have loss bonus going in their favor as well, but it's probably gonna be the weakest buy they've had all half.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we don't see Vega starting to get a little bit too ahead of themselves here, because you notice no one's set up in position to trades in these last few rounds. I mean, Frags has been able to take these one-on-ones, and you're letting them build their confidence back into this game. And with a man like Refresh, who we see on our screen right now, you can't afford to let that happen. Here's the rush out towards mid, and JR here alone going to fall short once again. No one nearby to deal with Stavin as he picks that first frag up. Now the rest of the boys going to try and barrel on in from Squeaky, but that smoke has already kind of put a stop to it. Bubsky going to be given the perfect funnel if they do decide to go for this, and they will back away.
I thought better of it. They still have a bit of utility to play with here as well. 2 Molotovs, a smoke, and 2 flashes. We do see the Tech 9s being brought out as well. We've seen a couple of teams opt in for them. Haven't really seen anyone have any remote success with it, but still a sign of the times and changes being made. But quite the daunting task for Vega right now in order to get back into this round.
Well, here's Chopper looking to try and hammer heads down in mid. Bubsky just jump peeking for the information, spots them out. He's going to go ahead and concede middle right now. Doesn't. Oh, Chopper, that's a free kill, but he doesn't take it.
And Stavin is actually going to reposition as well. This is going to be a lot harder for Chopper at this point of time, and Bubsky can obviously swing out from connector there to get a trade kill if Stavin were to go down. He is only on 8 HP. Let's see though how it pans out as Vega finally go back towards this A-bomb site.
Stavin just peeling off from mid, relying heavily on Bubsky, but Chopper going to get dealt with. Stavin even managing to. Somehow Fragster's going to be putting up a 5th round in spite of so much damage being done onto a few of these players there. And you can see now looking a little bit more confident here. The Danes trying to dig deep at a crucial in this match, pull it back to a pretty respectable scoreline. That's the end of this first half here. Fragsters looking to try and make this comeback possible. We're going to go ahead and throw this one over to a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back with the second half. Well, the Danes are going to try and live up to their country's reputation of being pretty damn good at CS. Vega, they had a very, very strong lead early on. They were up 10-1 on their T side. The half ends, though, 5-10, with Fragsters starting to scavenge a few rounds at the end. Looking scrappy early on, but finding their footing. And Bubsky and Refresh, the other players, bringing up the helm with Stavin, chiming in a little bit more in the earlier stages of that first half. As we currently sit, though, 5 rounds between these two teams. A chance at recovery here in this second half from the young Danish boys. But they have to try and break this curse of pistol round victories. They've won 2 thus far at this event. So
yeah, and
need to see that pick up.
Well, even more important, right, is the fact that they're going to be able to take advantage of the 1 pistol round too, because we've brought it up multiple times. Chad talked about it on the desk. The conversion rates on those 2 pistol rounds has been 0 for the second round, and that's obviously not going to do any favors for you at that, but it's probably better to just straight up lose the pistol. So yeah, and Fragsters, they kind of are in a position where they need to win a pistol and get 3 rounds on the board almost right off the bat. Oh, Vega, they started off so well on this T set of Cash, and even though they kind of let the ball drop a little bit towards the end there, eager to close this out 2-0. Don't want to let this go to a 3rd map.
No, especially because Vega, whenever we see that sort of trend appear, you think back to the ROG Masters, I think it was, where they actually played a best of 3 versus Gambit.
Oh, yeah.
Similar kind of story, dominant performance, map 1, second map, that it's them in the driving seat the entire time, and then they fall short right at the end. And then by map 3, I think they got 16 wand. So they're a team that, can get in their own head a bit in that sense. Yeah. And that's something Fragsters could look to exploit. You've already lost Bubsky early on, but equally so over on the side of Vega, you found JR. So the 2 heavy hitters, the 2 titans of either team have been torn down, and now we need to see the rest pick up the pieces and continue the legacy of these fallen giants. 4-on-4 as Fragsters head over here towards this A bomb site, leaving Stavin, trying to sell this lurk at B, prevent these players from rotating.
Yeah, question is if it's going to be there to pick up a rotation, or if he's just basing everything off of getting everyone out of the bomb site and then coming in from behind. But he's going to be the point of contact here. He's going to try to make as much nuisance as possible, but gets quickly dealt with. And Hoochie over on the bomb site finds Refresh. A little bit of a struggle towards the ender, but still able to reload. Finds Torben, also done significant damage onto Dragonfly here. And Chopper making the rotation over from the B bomb site to secure another pistol round for Vega Squadron. So that is, well, 1 out of 4 pistols, 1 for Fragsters so far. Pretty dire stat to go with, and Vega obviously going to be very happy about how this all started off.
I always wonder, what is it that makes a team so reliably bad at pistol rounds?
I mean, it could be a lot of things. Again, 1 pistols not being your forte. We've obviously seen some pistol players being more exceptional than others. Dennis is a player that comes into mind, right? As someone you just feel is a guarantee to get at least 1 to 2 frags on those pistol rounds. And strategical choices. I mean, CSGO is a kind of game that favors swarming a lot of the times when you don't have utility to fend you off. That's something that comes into play in pistol rounds too. We saw Fragsters taking a bit more of a measured approach, and that's going to be lethal for them.
They're going to get the bomb down here, though, and now it's a 5v5 retake, so definitely a chance here for the Danes to find success in their force bite. Smoking off the main, that's going to go ahead and leave Dragonfly high and dry. He pushes on him, but he's going to instantly die, and that's Chopper to find it. Man advantage gained here for Fragsters, but wrapping around through mid. Keep your eye on Torben. He has that deagle, now he's going to pounce, and you can see death from above. It's going to be players falling for Vega. Chopper desperately trying to answer back, but it's just not enough. And you mentioned swarming. Well, that there was
swarm and a half.
Like locusts as they just strip the site on down. They're going to be immediately answering back with a 6th. And now with the force buy coming in from Vega, all it takes is the victory here for them to start to make this game look very, very recoverable.
Yeah, definitely within their grasp at this point. Very well done by Fragsters to bring it back, and also a bit of a questionable decision from Vega Squadron to set up for a retake. Obviously, they have the superior weaponry, but not a lot of Molotovs really to force Fragsters players out of position. The one they had for the retake failed completely, so didn't even do much of anything for Vega. So if you're going to bank everything on a bit of a retake, you need to make sure that your nades are actually worthwhile. He has decided to force back into this Vega, though, in hopes of turning the tide immediately. Gotten into a forward position here towards mid. So much more mid focus from Vega Squadron here in the eco round. Chopper's going to get Molotov'd out of this position. Also get spotted crossing. He's going to go back, though, to his familiar spot. JR down to 13 HP. Not winning out that duel. That's Stavin doing the damage onto him early on. Now, bit of a counter boost coming in from Vega Squadron. They want to get aggressive. Dragonfly gets dropped by Chopper. It's a big get. Fair bit of money on the side of Chopper as well. Still, no flustered reaction coming out of Fragsters. They don't wait around to chase him down. Instead, it's going to be Torben to find Fuji over towards the A-bomb site, and Stavin is still aware of the fact that Chopper could be hanging around on that boost. So, Fragsters do make it onto the A-bomb side, also put some damage into Crush. Player closest to the bomb at this point. Smokes are going to go down as well, and he's going to have to dive through here if he wants to deny that, but thinks better of it. Wants to wait for Tony Black to make the rotation, who has a Colt to his name.
Yeah, they're going to go ahead and opt out of this retake, give Fragsters their 7th. Try and work with the Deeg and the M4 into this next round. 7-11 though, Fragsters. And with a shot here of coming back on Cash. By no means out of this one just yet. And this is something that we kind of said. Vega are a team that's very much based off momentum, very much based, you know, like not getting in their own heads. And they might not look it, but even then, a reasonably emotional team at that. Fragsters as well, perhaps more worrying. We often speak about this team being so reliant on pacing, so reliant on mood as well. You know, kind of being that lesser experienced team. So as they start to rise back up, it's all going to be exponential from here on in.
It is very true. I mean, for how much we were going on Dust 2 about the individuals on the side of Vega being able to step up pretty much all together. Starting to peter a little bit out at this stage. Meanwhile, on Fragster's side, Bubsky, Refresh, and Stavin showing a much better side of themselves here on Cash. Ooh, Dragonfly gets caught out with a Molotov. It's Tony Black to join into the fray. Fair bit of damage being done to the A-side defenders, but no real ground gained for Fragster, so they're going to have to reset here. That's a nice get from Bubsky there. JR rotating in through mid. Gets picked off immediately. Dropped down as well, and oof, a little bit labored, but does actually win at the fight versus Fuchi in the end. So man advantage back in the hands of Fragsters. Pretty healthy at that. And for now, only Chopper over towards that B bomb site, and that's where Bubsky's going to try to sell the fake. Well, meanwhile, you have Fragsters with the bomb moving towards A. Actually, you know, Bubsky's not going to commit to that B vents drop.
He's out here in mid. He does miss the timing on a Tony Black. He spots him running towards Forklift, and Stabbard is there to deal the crushing blow. Speaking of crushing blow, it's going to be him falling next. And Chopper left in a 1v4. Deeg in hand. There's no hope for him in this round. It's an 8th for Fragsters. Now just 3 between them and Vega. And, you know, keep kind of talking about it, but I do feel like, you know, it's going to start to hold true is that, you know, Vega, let's not forget, they were up, what, 10-1 at one point in time. Now 11-8. And it's looking like Fragsters are well on their way to getting in the heads of Vega Squadron, starting to make this comeback possible. There's still the potential of that 3rd map. Let's not forget, if we get there, it's going to be Inferno, one that we've seen a lot of Vega Squadron on.
Yeah, mixed results, obviously, but they've always been competitive on that map. They always feel like they have a good reasoning for actually being able to go into it, and if yesterday's game versus Hellraisers was any indication, that's going to be a pretty hefty challenge for Fragsters. But still, some ways to go here. You might see Vega turn things around as they do have weapons to their names at this point. No op on JR, and not a lot of Molotovs So setting up for a potential retake, that's not really going to be what you want to do if you're a Vega. Here we go, still on Fragsters to be able to execute properly.
Tony Black able to open. Uchi hiding away. Now going to emerge from MBK, and he sprays down 3. Just Dragonfly left up, and Vega very, very quickly looking to turn the tide here. There's Chopper rallying down that last man. Vega Squadron onto a 12th. There is still a buy in the tank for Fragsters.
That was about as clean as you could have hoped for if you're Vega. Again, limited utility, but some smoke dives and whatnot from Uchi really just making the difference here. Perfect timing to find Bubsky, and then obviously getting the drop on both Refresh and Torben. That's how you like to see it play out if you're Uchi. Also sent him a bit up the scoreboard as well with those 3 kills. And he has been one of the more consistent performers on Vega, so good to see him getting into it. More of a presence here from Fragsters over towards B. This time, Stavin is joined by his brother and Dragonfly. Vega on there, and though they have opted in for a boost into the vents. Remains to be seen though if Fragsters want to be the kind of team that focuses heavily on taking mid control, or if they go for more dry takes without too much information, similar to what Vega Squadron would do for a better part of their T side. Already have gone away from that B presence they showed early. But a jumping around is gonna have Chopper drop down his smoke. Actually gonna get into a more passive position here. Still has Tony Black boosted up in vent, so doesn't need to be too worried about it. And actually he's gonna go fully commit to that A defense. And here we go, finally some movement out of Fragsters.
Now here towards mid. Gonna be looking to Torben to try and find an opener. Tony Black tucked away as well. Chopper chiming in on one with JR. And this Fragster's pushing towards B, grinding to a halt. There's only 10 seconds. They back away. They're going to make the decision to go ahead and save Vega Squadron. A 13th round. Looking like they want to try and close this one out here and now. The pistol round might not go their way. Well, actually, rather it does. It's the anti-eco in round number 2 that didn't go their way. But these rifle rounds are certainly coming up Vega. 13-8 right now. Holding that orb, the rifles forward. They're going to go for one more buy. The only issue is you lose this over on the side of Fragsters. You've got nothing left.
Yeah, very quickly looking at Vega Squadron being at map point. So as good of a run those 3 rounds from Fragsters were with, getting back from a lost pistol and whatnot. Vega's still very much in control of this game. Buys just getting better and better for every time that passes, or for every minute that passes on the side of Vega. Get extinguished immediately. Doesn't force Uchi out of position. Means that Dragonfly won't have the opportunity to connect any of his op bullets. Again, no real forward push from Fragsters over towards his B bomb site. That was one of the focal points for Vega Squadron actually to continuously try to punish. So that is going to be back to mid with at least 2 of the players. Close Molotov to clear out any potential lurking Vega player. And again, though, Tony is in that vent. So the second Crush gets any sort of contact here, that should be spurring him forward. Actually, it's him who's going to be taking the first challenge, but ends up working out the same way for Vega. 2 kills to their names. Bubsky replies. Uchi goes down over towards A, but the rotations are quickly in place here for the Russian-Ukrainian squad. And so are the frags, Tony Black and Crush, making their way over from middle to that A bomb site to just completely decimate Fragsters and potentially whatever hope they had of making it back into this one, because you said it, that was pretty much an all-in buy on their side. Now they're sitting between 2.4 and 2K dollars to go in to the round that most likely will send Vega Squadron to a map point. And not only that, but series point.
Yeah, and they've gone ahead. They've gone for the Eco Fragsters, believing in the 7-round consecutive comeback if they lose this one. It's quite the belief to have, but they're looking to try and get it done. And we know these Danes, you know, they
can't surprise.
Yeah, they definitely can. They always have an X factor up their sleeve. Crush already opening up this round as he decimates Torben down here in mid. He's still lurking around. Bubsky's there, and as good a performance as he's had, he's still going to fall short versus the man in the middle. Dragonfly. He's been spotted as well and dealt with. This is just going to be the round going the way of Vega from this point onwards, unless Refresh and Stab and really can do the impossible. And it does not look that way. Just Refresh left up in a 1v5.
Refresh not going to be able to connect onto Tony Black either. So 15 rounds, match point, series point for Vega Squadron. I mean, I don't think it's unfair to say that Vega have looked like the better team by quite some margin up till this point. So outside of an absolutely stunning comeback on the side of Fragsters here, Vega are looking at a semifinals here at Starladder. So the op is going to come out for Fragsters. And again, we haven't seen much presence towards that B bomb site. We would like to see them at least explore the option before their time runs out here. Again, it's going to be a pretty cookie cutter setup, but nothing's cookie cutter about what Vega Squadron are about to do. Aggressive push into A main removes the entire presence that Fragsters had towards that area. That's also the bomb drop down as well. Bubsky's trying his damnedest to see if he can find any sort of trade, but Vega not allowing that to be the case. And now you're very separated as Fragsters, and you have two players over towards the B bomb side that's completely vacated. Vega know exactly what they have to do.
Well, they have at least found that one kill. Tony Black boosted up, trying to catch this man unaware. Now the remaining players of Fragsters as well, barreling in through B. You do have Hoochie keeping an eye on it. JR down here in mid. He's going to hear these footsteps. Rotating back route. Hoochie didn't need to take that peek, and as a result, he's given away the man advantage. We're back into a 3-on-3 and still a fighting chance here for this Fragsters roster, but JR looking to try and cancel that out now. Down in mid, does drop Stab, and it's Dragonfly and Bubsky. These two have looked good, but now they have to look better than ever if Fragsters want to stay in this game. They afloat here in a sea of sharks, and Bubsky, well, he's going to go ahead and make that a possibility. It's just JR. Left alive in a 1v2. This man has been so good at clutching, but not this time around as Dragonfly plucks his prey from the air, as Dragonflies so often do. And it's going to be a 9th round on the board here for the Fragsters. The Danes not ready to concede this matchup just yet.
Yeah, and Vega really dropping the ball right there. 5v3 situation, drop the bomb early on. And I think it's perfectly fair for you to actually make that kind of a rotation they do, but then instead of actually maintaining focus on holding down the bomb and where it is, start to venture out on their own, you know, unnecessary exploration missions and just get picked off one by one. Just nowhere near the bomb, nowhere near a teammate at any given point. You're basically giving Fragsters a viable opportunity to get back into the round, and they do so as well. So credit to Dragonfly and Bubsky for being able to stay composed. But Vega probably should have been able to close out and punch their ticket to a semifinals right then and there.
Oh, and I'll be honest, I've been very impressed with this Vega squad roster that we've seen. You know, the actual CS. Even if you kind of compare the performances on day one, I think there's been a real upwards trajectory even at this one event, right? You kind of see them looking better and better. It feels like every time we watch them play. It wouldn't surprise me if they go further than I think most people expect.
I think semifinals probably would have been further than...
Yeah, that's very true. And they stand just one round away from that. Let's not forget, there's so much pressure here on this very, very young Danish roster. They might have played together for a while, but having to start to haul your way back into these games, it's not the easiest ask of even the most seasoned teams. So it's going to be a monumental comeback if they manage to get it done. Dragonfly peeking over the top of the smoke, has yet to see anything. The only man inside of this A bomb site playing over towards red. That's going to be Hoochie, but it's down in mid. Chop has been discovered. Shot down by Bubsky. The push coming on in, and it's Hoochie left here to try and hold his own. The nades rain on in. Hoochie good for one. Then there's Crush chiming in with another. It's a 2v3, but with Bubsky brought down so low, that Molotov on JR could decide so much. He's over here towards the truck.
Dragonfly is in that optimal spot for the Molotov. He does have an op as well, so if the timing is a little bit off for JR, could be the end of him. And Torben's going to be the one to ruin all the fun for Vega Squadron. So a 10th round for Fragsters here, and pretty much broke Vega Squadron as well. So more chances to climb back into this. Dane's being given a lifeline here at the end of it. And if you are just tuning in, Fragsters, they do need to win this map, even if it would go to an OT first in order to bring it to a third. As Vega, in pretty convincing fashion, were able to win Fragsters map pick of Dust 2.
Wow. 5 rounds in a row is all we need to see from the Danes to go and force this one through to an overtime. The very, very real Danish band of brothers here over on this T side. Desperately trying everything they can to stay afloat right now, and it does seem to be working out. They boost on up in towards mid, going to try and use these rifles at range, take early control here, and it has worked out. You can see the smokes rain on in. Crush not too keen to peek in on the back of it. Just this partial investment from the Vega boys. They can still go ahead and get a buy together in the next. 5-7s across the board. It's an interesting one. No CZs, so... But you never thought you'd see that, even with these changes that have come in.
Yeah. That's a bit interesting, but we've seen the 5.7 have its heyday. Might be the return of it. Still, obviously, a very good pistol. Definitely needs to showcase that, though, as Fragsters obviously have the better weaponry here. Given quite a bit of ground to work with on the side of the Danes. Closing in on that A-bomb site. Oh, and Crush gets dropped from his opportunity to be able to do something big there for his side. Instead, it's going to be an A-bomb site in the hands of Fragsters. At least for the time being, Tony Black here with a double kill. All of a sudden, it's down to a 2v2. Just going to run right into the crosshairs of Dragonfly, and he's been caught into a bit of a corner here, but with some help from his teammates, going to be able to get flashed out of position and readjust. Follows up on that and downs JR. So 11 rounds now for Fragsters. I mean, that was an eco round from Vega, and they were able to do significant damage. But I guess money isn't really a big issue for Fragsters at this point. I mean, if they lose one round, they're just down and out, and that's just the end of it.
Yeah, that's the worry, right? You just need one of these massive performances from someone like Chopper or JR right now, and it could decide the fate. It will decide the fate of Fragsters here. They're doing a good job of this comeback right now. Let's not forget it was 10-1 in favor of Vega at one point in time. Now 11-15. This game could still very much go the distance, Halvor. And that's what we want to see. Fragsters on this road to redemption here on Cash. JR locked in checkers. Does have Tony Black there to help on out. And this boost from Fragsters now going to get disassembled and put away for another day. Missed shot from JR. Now they know the presence of this CT side AWP, but in this position, they're looking to try and contend with the Dragonfly homing in his sights, and that smoke missing now. Still going to be JR picking things up. That first kill going the way of Vega. What a man to find as well. You think about these last few rounds and the players that have been opening them up, the players that have been consistently fielding these frags, and Dragonfly is one of them that springs to mind. And for Fragsters, they're going to head back towards this A-bomb site, but it's the boost from Chopper. Crush sat back at the truck. He's going to start to push on in. He is in real danger of getting caught out here, but it looks like he might just catch a break and get the timing to move into the bomb site. 30 seconds. And
No Molotovs on the side of Fragsters, though. How are you going to clear out this A-bomb site? Well, that's one way of going about it.
Oh, my goodness. Refresh looking to try and make this possible. It's Chopper raining death down from above, but the trade comes in straight away, and Refresh spearheading this offensive. Hoochie and JR, what can they do? It's going to be a bit of team damage done there as Hoochie barrels through the smoke, but they're not ready. Back at the site, Refresh continuing this good form. And now it is just JR and Tony Black. Tony Black in main. Rounds the corner, but falls prey to Stavern, and Fragsters locking in a 12th round. This game looks to go on that much longer.
JR, though, at least looking to hold on to that op. He's going to find Bubsky retreating from the bomb site as well. Gives up his position, and, well, there is one player here on the side of Fragsters lurking about. That's Refresh. He's in vents right now, but doesn't seem too keen to actually drop down. They want to make sure they get as good of a buy going into it, as every round really, really matters here on the side of Fragsters. There's no doubt about that. But they've managed to make it 12. And again, economy is not in the greatest state for Vega Squadron. What are you looking at the possibility of an OT being right now?
150%.
150%. Okay, that's pretty solid odds to go off of there.
Yeah.
Curious as to what LootBet has to say about that as of right now. Obviously, you saw a pretty stacked odds line for Vega there as we got a bit deeper into the game, but might be about to turn. JR, though, with that one weapon to his name, just going to lose out the duel versus Dragonfly. So revenge immediately served from the Dane. Gucci is able to find one, but that's not going to keep them out of the bomb site. So, well, Fragsters, they're looking at a 13th round here, and that op is not going to be retrievable either for Vega.
Yeah, and Fragsters now are going to be picking up a 13th. Just 2 rounds to haul this one back to an overtime. Exiting this bomb site early. They're very wary that players might be waiting and lurking in the shadows, in the murky depths. It's going to be Crush pushing forward. No, he sees him. Does he? No.
He doesn't. Doesn't have that X-ray vision, as the spectators do have. He's going to push forward. Ooh.
That's a jump scare, but
that definitely is. Straight out of Slender Man. But man alive, Fragsters, they're making a real game out of it. And we talked at the very start of Cash how we wanted to see, if Fragsters were to go out of this to at least make it a competitive game. And then obviously their CT side happened, which definitely didn't instill any confidence in us that we're going to be able to see that kind of a display. But the tune has changed, definitely so. Vega struggling to get rounds together here towards the end of it. 4th round or 5th round in a row for Fragsters. Question now is if they can go the entire way, though. And we have it. So both teams having their issues on the CT side. Again, makes me really question as to why we saw Fragsters start out on that CT side. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, but nonetheless, that's the situation they find themselves in as we get on into round 29. Double ops, seemingly the answer for Vega Squadron.
Hoochie holding a very tight angle. Is going to go ahead and nail Dragonfly now. Has to try and outstay his welcome here. Looks to deny the bomb plant. Just toying with Fragsters. Missed shot. And now Crush comes in to bail him out. There's Hoochie chiming in with another. And Crush picking up a double. It all falls on a Torben Ion in a 1v5. So much yet to do. And that is going to be Vega closing out this series. 16-13 here on Cash. It takes them a little bit longer than perhaps they would have liked. They will be winning this series 2-0, moving in to the semi-finals tomorrow and sending the young Danish roster home, ending their journey here in Kiev.
Yeah, and obviously not the end result that Fragsters would have liked to see, and they probably were starting to feel like they had a chance of bringing that over to a 3rd map. But in the end, they're making progress. They're making steps in the right direction. And when you consider where they, how it went for them the last time around, they attended a StarSeries. That was a much quicker exit to their adventure. So again, steps in the right direction. As disappointed they might be at the moment, I think they can look back at this and see that they've had quite a few promising showings.
Yeah, I mean, they have. And these guys, they're kind of the hometown team, I guess, so they're going to have the crowd rallying behind them as well. We get to see them in the semis. That's always interesting. And for Fragsters, it does kind of feel like maybe if they'd had gone into that T side, maybe if we saw them, kickstarted the way that you figured that they would have done, it would have been a very different story, right? Because it was still a 10-1 half in favor of Vega. There's no escaping the fact that only winning 16-13 is really not where you want to be. A win is a win, but you imagine how different it could have been had we seen that T side start come in from the Danes.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the two maps, there's no doubt that Vega's best performance was on Dust 2. I guess we could have said that if they were able to close out Cash, because they were looking so dominant early on. But yeah, it's not the end that you want to, or note that you want to end on, but it is what it is for Vega. They're going to have some time to readjust and kind of figure out what went wrong in terms of struggling to close out that match versus Fragsters. I think the 5v3 that we saw definitely is a pretty big part of that, and that's a mistake you only make once, I think, before you kind of wisen up to what you made a mistake. That's pretty evident.
Yeah, it did kind of feel like they kind of figured that they'd already won that, right? Maybe like, you're chasing down the last 3 players when you're at match point, and then, that's kind of the thing that ends up giving it away. It would have been like a real return, like a real turnaround if Fragsters had pulled that back. Because suddenly, I think if that game goes through to overtime,
that's very much Fragsters' game.
I think that we see a map 3 at that point. But sadly, we never got to reach Inferno. Our journey came to an end here on Cash. That will be Vega winning this out. And to hear a few words from them, we're going to head over to Frankie at the stage.
I've got JR and Alex, his manager, translating for him because we need to talk about that last game. I was convinced it was going to be over sooner than it was. So talk me through how you finally managed to close that last map.
Фрэнки говорит, что рассчитывал, что мы ее побыстрее все-таки закроем, но мы без валидола не умеем. И что ты считаешь, как нам удалось переломить все-таки исход, чтобы закончить игру?
Мы сделали паузу, немножко, скажем так, поменяли свою КТ-расстановку, потому что мы знали, что они идут контактом на А. Нам нужен был либо АВП на А, либо чтобы я сходил на А, но мы решили после паузы сыграть в 2 АВП, ну и это сработало.
So we paused it at like 15-13, and we decided to change our CT setup as we knew that they were going for an A contact, and JR said that we could go for a second op, or he actually told Huji to get the op, or he could go for one, but they decided to go for 2 ops, and it worked, and we won.
I know Crush said in an interview with HLTV that you guys were expecting surprises from them, but at the end of the day, it looks like you had a bit of an easy ride of it. So were you more surprised by the fact that this did not go to 3 maps today?
Игорек вчера в интервью ХЛТВ сказал, что рассчитывает на какие-то сюрпризы от них, что, собственно, выглядит так, что будто они нас ничем не удивили, но как ты считаешь, чем они все-таки в конце концов нас удивили, и вот как-то так?
Да, ребята, на самом деле хорошо играют, но они очень скованно играли. И это было заметно, скажем так, на первой карте, когда у них что-то не получалось, они закрывали в себе и очень сильно зажимались. То есть и на второй карте они играли более раскрепощенно, я не знаю за счет чего, но получилось так, что они намного больше нервничали. Возможно, это публика таких, скажем так, во-первых, нас подбадривала, а им только минус морали это было. То есть, благодаря, скажем так, нашим болельщикам, возможно, они так, скажем так, нервничали.
So he says that the guys are playing super well, and he just thinks that they maybe got too nervous on the map 1, as they really got back into the game, even though we were like leading 10-1, and they won like 4 last rounds on T side as we were playing T side on Cash, and I believe we didn't kill like anyone in those like 4 rounds, and they got some confidence from that, but. Maybe the other key to success is that we are here like as a home team, and we got the home crowd supporting us. Maybe this is what makes them be nervous, because the guys are supporting us, and it might be the key for our win as well.
Such a nice, gracious answer for the Fragsters boys. I'm sure they'll be really happy to hear you say that, JR. Now, it's NRG versus North next. You will be playing the winner. Do you think you can beat either of those teams?
Сейчас будут играть Energy против North. Считаешь ли ты вообще, что нам по силам победить одну из этих двух команд?
Да, почему нет? Раз уж мы туда дошли, думаю, нам по силам выиграть. Надо просто больше будет стараться, больше фокусироваться. Ну, все игра покажет.
So if we made it this far, why not beat one of those teams? I mean, maybe you have to focus more and like play better and do our best, but that's what we were doing like in all the games during this tournament. We never had an easy game actually. All the games were quite close, but yeah, this is how we play and we're quite comfortable with that, I guess.
Finally, it's your first time playing at a LAN with an audience here, and you did have a lot of supporters, JR. So do you have a message for the audience here and watching at home?
Перевод нужен или нет?
Спасибо всем болельщикам, кто нас поддерживал. Это очень сильно чувствовалось. Только, скажем так, благодаря вам мы здесь. Всем спасибо.
I'm going to ask for a quick translation, but the audience loved it. They're chanting again.
Yeah, he just told them that was what motivated us to go to the playoff, to just feel it for the first time, getting support from the people who are cheering for you. That's just great, yeah.
Well, I'm sure they're going to turn up tomorrow and cheer for you all over again. Good luck, JR. And congratulations, Vega Squadron, on making the semi-finals. Now, after this short breakdown by the desk, we're going to go to the last game of the day. It's going to be NRG versus North. So let us know who you think's going to win that series in Twitch chat right now. But we're going to head to the desk.
The first half woes continue, and that is the end of the Fragsters run here at StarSeries Season 6. Not the prettiest affairs on their behalf, perhaps in the start of each of these maps, but how do we tie this one all in together, guys?
If you watched the Fragsters all week long, this wasn't the team that we saw. I mean, I'll go ahead and say it. I picked against them most of the tournament. I thought, right, that was one good game. They're going to get found out next game, or it's going to be on another map and they won't have that performance, or, okay, great performance, refresh, that's going to drop right off. It didn't all week long, but they got to the playoffs now. I doubt actually that the Vega Squadron side that they built up there, or maybe the crowd, and we were trying to please them. Vega Squadron seemed fine. They did what they've done all week long. It's the Fragsters where, even though it wasn't a big stage setup and there wasn't any of that, they seemed like the guys who weren't on their game. Like, I never really saw the performances. Obviously, Refresh, potential MVP of the tournament, just average today. Not a whole lot, and then each game, totally different maps. First half was always terrible.
Well, you say maps, Chad. I want to ask you right now, this veto seemed to plague them throughout this. What happened here?
I think if you play a team like Vega, you want to avoid scrimmy maps, right? I think the thing with Fragsters is they played a lot more games together as a core or as a team than what this Vega team has. So you should have looked to have played something where it's a little bit more strategical, right? They had actually picked into a map like Inferno earlier. We know that Chopper goes missing. Here on both these maps, Chopper had stellar performances. Yes. Refresh redeemed himself a little bit on this second map as opposed to the first. And I think if you only watch the second half of these games, it seems very competitive. But the undoing was the first half, like we've all alluded to. Once again, within the first 9 rounds of the game, Fragsters found themselves either on low buys or on eco 5 out of those 9 rounds. That's the exact same scenario that happened on Dust 2. It's a difficult position to be in, but this time it was the other side, right? This time they just found themselves on the CT side getting crushed, whereas last time it was on the T side getting crushed. So I don't know if the problem's with they just start slow, they need to have their backs against the wall, or they just need this is a learning curve for them, because we have touched on the age of these players. They are very young, right? And this is, I guess, probably the biggest tournament they've played in. They would have to be the biggest offline tournament they've played in. They played in DreamHack Opens, but this is the next step up from that for sure. So there's potential there. We're definitely seeing, more Danish stars coming through, or more Danish teams who are hungry for it and playing good Counter-Strike. It's just going to be more time, that old storyline we always run with.
And talking about Danish stars, perhaps even some of the names that stick out that we've watched all week, would like a Refresh, for example. Sure. Really putting in a lot of work there, really showing statistically like, hey, he's putting these guys on the map in a lot of situations. It did feel like he was a little bit absent throughout this.
I think that was exactly the problem, because if you think back across some of the games they played, and they had some close games, obviously the one against Big was very, very tight, and they actually looked like they were headed towards a loss there. If Refresh even goes down in those games 10% of his performance, which would have still been pretty good, would have been above expectations, they lose some of those games, maybe they're not in the playoffs. So I mean, it sounds harsh to say, but this is one of the reasons why when upsets happen, they don't instantly win us over on the analysis desk. You know, you always think to yourself, was this an outlier? If one stat jumps up a whole lot, the kind of standard deviations too off, you kind of think, right, that's going to return back. So I thought it was going to be the other way. I thought it would be Vega Squadron that went down, because I'm thinking of all the past lineups, and they were so predicated around having to play that one style, having a couple of names, one of which has obviously left the lineup. But massive props to Vega Squadron, because they've been able to really get a full team effort across both maps.
Yeah, just while we are touching on like the refresh, in the last 4-round stretch that they were actually able to put together on their CT side, he had at least 1 kill in every single one of those 4 rounds. So he did have impact to get them rounds on the board. So you have to point it out there. And I think Dragonfly stepped up his game, especially with the AWP. In this map, he had the most AWP kills out of everybody in the server, whereas JR, he was getting most of his 18 frags in the early stages of the first half. He cooled off a lot. Couple of little bits and pieces maybe that these teams can take home. I like the pistol round strat that Fragsters did, right, where they had the smokes and they were playing the retake B setup, but I don't like it on pistol round. The reason is the Glocks want to actually play in the site and close to the choke points. They don't want to play from checkers and B main. So when they retook the bomb site, there was 3 players in the site, right? Those smokes to isolate players didn't work. That's something that I would love it on an anti-eco. I'd love it on a gun round. And then for the guys from Vega, they also did an A retake on their anti-eco. And the problem there was none of them had a defuse kit. So now the pressure was on for them to have to milk the clock and find those kills quicker, and they lost that round, and that kind of helped these guys from Fragsters have a comeback.
You want to talk about some numbers? We've been showing them there for a few seconds, but Chopper absolutely out of his mind in the series. 101 ADR plus 28 KD alongside Tony Black on the same notion, and JR even chiming in as well with a nice bit of statistics. So quite a bit of fire put down range here on top of the Fragsters, and you got to kind of wonder too, did nerves get to them here?
So I think so to some degree. I mean, as we said, some of them hadn't been like crazy over the week anyway. It was mainly refreshers, as we said, was the potential MVP candidate, really a breakout player, especially since he historically wasn't the best player on the team. On the other side of the equation, though, the guy we obviously did see at the major, Chopper, fabulous series generally. Yep. Really, no one could stand toe-to-toe with him. I mean, funnily enough, even when they tried going to the other side, that's where some of the other players who hadn't been fragging as well got involved for the Vega Squadron team. And I think probably the thing that impressed me the most about Vega Squadron is all the players looked as though they actually believed they were the better team. They looked like, if I die, this guy's going to get the kill, trade for me. So they could be as aggressive in that scenario.
A lot of faith put into those situations. But I suppose even when it came down to first kills, that was definitely a pretty one-sided affair. Probably about 34-20 if I remember looking at these numbers.
Yeah.
Look, if I remember watching the game, when I was counting, it was
yes.
you know, I was trying to keep the tally marks going.
Basic total, yeah.
The Vega guys, especially with their pacing in a lot of situations, were just like blowing open bomb sites. It didn't work for them towards the end of that first half because they just kept doing it. They were hoping it would pay off because they were steamrolling them so bad. But that's why this game got close. We were talking about all the stat lines, 2 out of 12 pistols for Fragsters in this tournament.
Ouch.
That's obviously something which, with this new update, that might change a lot. It might not be as significant, but obviously with the current meta, that's a bit of a problem. And I think that with Vega, if we look at it, Chopper has really big highs. You know, he can carry a game where he can put up, but also in the games that they've lost, he goes absent. So that's something that they can't have when they move forward. I think Tony Black and Hutchie are interchangeable with their star performances.
With their impacts.
Yeah, exactly. And then JR has been consistent throughout. The entire tournament, JR has been playing fantastically.
How about this? I mean, we do know that Vega wins this game. They now move on to the semifinals. But is this a Vega Squadron that can have that long run and perhaps even grab a title here?
The map pool still. Isn't it the map pool? Their map pool's not deep enough. The thing is, NRG and North will hopefully punish them in the veto.
Yes. Yeah, that's the big problem for them. I actually feel for them a little bit. If they're on the other side of the bracket and they've got to play against Ents, okay, Ents actually has a half-decent map pool themselves, but they're more new players. They haven't been in this position before. On this side, we're probably expecting the team that wins this match to win, the NRG versus North one that's coming up next. So I think it's just a rough bracket. Then again, that's also a great opportunity to prove yourself. Like if you win that, you get to the final. You've already earned big props at this point in time.
Well, when we come back, we're going to be taking a look at those brackets as well as locking and loading here for NRG versus North. The last best of 3 of the day and the last quarterfinals here, the Star Series Season 6. You don't want to miss this, bad boys, so make sure you're here with us when we come back. Please.
Loot Bet.
StarSeries multi-cases, you are no longer restricted by random case opening mechanisms. Now, you are able to pick any of the cells containing skins and actually determine what you win. Use the promo code and dive right in.
I'm a fighter. You can't burn me. I'm the igniter. Gonna be a legend. Gonna take it all. Watch me crush it like a wrecking